Hold up, wait a minute. I know you've heard the Christmas story before, but not like this. Let's go back through it and examine it through different lenses. And at the end of this GODCAST, I have a question and a challenge just for you on this edition of The Fold. Let's get it. Once upon a time, in a land called Invisiville, there was a great and mighty king who set his kingdom in the north, in the highest mountain. This king was that mighty king who was heard but never seen. This mighty king had subjects, El being one of his most adorned, most loved. He gave him the nickname Son of the Morning. He led worship in all of the realm of the king, who was always heard but never seen. In the process of time, El sat at the crest of the high mountain in the north, looked at his flesh, spiritually that is, in the palm of his hand, and saw the reflection and thought he was beautiful. He was adorned. He was loved. All of the subjects, the servants, had everything they wanted from above by this mighty, mighty king who was heard but never seen. So El thought within himself, I'll be like the Most High. I'll make my mountain in the side of the north. I'll be worshiped. In the very thought of his rebellion, banished him from that place where that great, great king would dwell that was heard but never seen, into a place of outer darkness. But not with screams, not with torment, not yet. It's for a later time. So El, when he would rebel, he took 1/3 of the subjects with him when he fell into a dusty place, dry, no light, no habitation. So El once again said within himself, I'll go back to the land of the Most High and see this great king who banished me from the kingdom, the one that was heard but never seen. I'll go back and plead my case with him. So El, as he ascended and ascended and ascended and ascended, seemed to slow down. And he thought to himself, the one that wears this crown, this mighty great king on the side of the north that was heard and never seen, he stopped me from entering in the realm where he dwells. So I make myself king in this dark, dark place. In this realm between Materialville and Invisiville, I'll build me a kingdom. I'll fill this atmosphere with my influence. So he went to do it. So this great king, in the process of time, he decided that he wanted a family. So he made one. Remember, this great king, the one that was heard and never seen, he was more lofty. He was majestic. This great king that was heard but never seen, there was nothing like him anywhere. He literally created everything. So he made himself the man and the woman, the family that he desired, gave them dominion over everything. Everything would expire, but just not yet. The rebellion hadn't come. So this king made him a son and a daughter, said, be fruitful and multiply. No one would have to leave him in this place called Eden. Just one thing. Don't eat the fruit from this tree. Every other tree, everything that's green, the herb, everything that grows from the ground is good for you. Not me, because I'm that king that was heard and never seen. I dwell in a time, well, no time, but I dwell in space. Well, not exactly space, but I've inhabited a place that no one can be, because I am that king that was heard and never seen. So one hot evening, maybe between 2 and 3. El comes, this great dragon, the mind of a beast, came to the woman when she was all alone. Maybe she was making a feast, and says to the woman, "You are surely of the least of the creation of the king." You know, the one that was heard and never seen. "But if you eat off this tree, you can be like he that knows everything." So she did eat, and the man likewise. Sin came into the world. So this being El, this type of a red dragon, he fled. And this great king, the one that was heard and never seen, came in the evening to walk with the man and said, "Adam, where are you?" He wasn't lost. Adam was lost. But there was a cost. Now they were naked and they were in hiding. They made themselves coverings. So that great king, the one that was heard and never seen, slaughtered the first innocent being. It was an animal to make a skin of covering for that man and that woman. In Materialville, it was the first blood that was shed. So that great king that was heard but never seen pronounced the curse on El and all of his little beings that followed him and that fell from above, that caused the woman to eat off the tree. Well, he cursed that being. He said, "El, you'll be on your back. You'll eat dust all the days of your life. And there will be one that comes to Materialville. That one, that great king, the one that was heard, but he will be seen. He will crush your head and you will bruise his heel." So the first blood was shed to make a covering. Hundreds of years later, that great king that was heard but never seen had a problem with his beings, because now El has devised a plan. Him and 1/3 of his clan, they decided that they would stop the man, the one who's promised to come, that king that will come into Materialville, the one that was heard but never seen. They would stop that king. They would poison the DNA of every man and every woman. But God found Noah. God found Noah, pronounced judgment on the world, that he would flush the earth from sin. He regretted everything that he had made. Noah found grace in the eyes of God. God flooded the world, got rid of all those beings with DNA that he didn't bring, but that came from El and his evil schemes. And again, in the process of time, there was a child named Moses. Moses was a fair child. His parents perceived that he was a fair child, put him in a basket. Why did they put him in a basket? And why did they send him down the Nile? Because the Pharaoh had made a decree that every little kid under the age of 3, they would die that day. They would no longer be. So Noah finds grace in the eyes of the Lord, floats down the Nile. Pharaoh's daughter, she smiles when she sees Moses, makes him her child. So again, God, he established the people from himself through Moses, maybe through his actions. No, through the divine provision and providence of that great king, the one that was heard but never seen. Again, in the process of time, he delivers his people from Pharaoh, makes his own people, and he nicknamed them Israel. These people, Israel. I will establish worship with my people. That great king, the one that was heard but never seen, he established worship with his people. But just one thing. They would rebel against him. So he sent prophets. He sent prophets to warn them. Hey, flee the wrath to come. Serve that great king, the one that was heard, but he will be seen. And for hundreds of years, in Materialville, prophets were slaughtered. Messengers were slaughtered. Israel had a problem. So finally, in the process of time, that great king that was heard but never seen, he would come into the world through a very young girl, espoused to be married to David. Now, David heard in a dream what God had done to Mary and impregnated her womb with that great king, the one that was heard but never seen. But the dragon had a problem with everything that this great king would do. So Mary, in obedience to that great king, through his servant that delivered the message, the one that was heard but never seen, in obedience, after the wise man that came and brought him all types of things, Herod said, report back to me, because I want to worship this king that was heard but finally seen, the one that fulfills prophecy. The wise man took another route home, which infuriated Herod the king. And again, in the process of time, Herod dies. But David, being scared to go back into that great land, that beautiful place. Remember, Israel saw God, but not his face. But Mary carried the flesh of that great king, the one that was heard but never seen. That great king was heard but never seen. He fled into Egypt for maybe a decade or so. So that great red dragon, he would vow to wage war, to stop his kingdom and prevent it from growth. That red dragon, Lucifer, had a great plan. This is what we'll do. When he gets to Israel, we'll grab him by this hand, and eventually this hand, we'll nail him to a cross. We'll stunt everything that he's trying to do, and we'll bring loss. So they did, again, in the process of time. They take that great king and nail him to a tree. That great king that was heard but finally seen was rejected by the same people that he brought out of everything. Gave them a great name. He was rejected for me and you. Now, what will you do? That great king came to this world to save us from God's judgment. He came to Materialville, from Invisiville to save you and me from that great judgment on that great day. That's what Christmas is about. But that child, that baby in the manger, that one that we celebrate this time of year with the nativity scene, he is that great king, the one that was heard but finally seen. But he's no longer a baby. He's a man, and he runs everything. The universe, time and space, as long as the earth remains. But no one has really seen his face, not in all of his glory. And that's why I'm telling this story about that great king that was heard and finally seen. He's coming back one day. So while we sing, and while we rejoice in everything that he has accomplished, the question is this: have you received that great king, the one that was heard and finally seen? He's not a baby. He's a man. His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. Have you received him? Will you receive him? He came to save you. That's all we have for tonight. I have a challenge for you. If you haven't received the Lord Jesus, get on your face. Confess your sins to him. He's waiting for you. There couldn't be a better time of year to come to the King than now. With all the things going on in the world, I could have done a video. I could have did a podcast about something trendy, but I wanted to pull back and tell this great story about this great king. And he's not a baby anymore. And I think too many times we make the mistake of treating Jesus like the baby in the manger. But no, he's the one with flaming eyes. He's the one that John laid on his bosom. But when John saw him in the book of Revelation, he fell on his face as a dead man. And the Lord had to come and give him confidence and console him and say, look, fear not. I'll come to give you a revelation. That's the Jesus that we're going to meet. So if this blesses you, and I hope it does, please share this podcast. We're signing off tonight. And until next time, have a Merry Christmas if I don't talk to you guys again, and keep looking up to the Chief Shepherd. Later.